Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about some of the main characters that will almost certainly face their end in the final season. In this video I will be introduced with the deaths of the Lannisters, Jaime, Tyrion and Cersei. Some of these deaths are confirmed by 100% legit leaks and leaked photos, while some are only supported by theories of mine, so let's just jump into it. Let's start with the death of Jaime Lannister, whose end will be no other than his sister and former lover herself, Cersei Lannister. In the end of Season 7, Jaime finally sees his sister for what she really is, an insane, delusional and power-hungry queen who would betray anyone to secure her reign, no matter if her own life or the whole realm is in danger. Jaime finally abandons his sister to honor and help the North face the White Walkers after he learned that Cersei and Euron plot to dishonor the truce between the Iron Throne and the alliance of House Targaryen and House Stark. Jaime now rides north, but he will eventually be back at King's Landing, where he'll face the Mad Queen and sacrifice his life for the greater good, just as every knight should, just as he already did it by killing the Mad King. Jaime's riding north to fight the Army of the Dead, but then he'll ride back to the south to fight against both the Army of the Dead and Cersei. You might be a bit confused right now, and that's okay, give me a moment to explain it. Let me summarize Jaime's fate in the final season until his very bittersweet end. In the beginning of Season 8, Jaime still rides north through the Riverlands. There he reunites with Bronn and takes charge of the Lannister forces that were deployed in the Riverlands to ensure peace. He then leads his forces to Winterfell, where he reunites with his brother Tyrion, Brienne and all the others. Jaime will participate in a huge battle for Winterfell in Episode 3, in which the living under Jon and Dany's command will face a huge defeat. House Stark's hereditary home will be destroyed, they will take severe casualties and some of the main characters will meet their end, but Jaime will survive. Let me also highlight that there's a big mystery surrounding the already infamous third episode of the final season that will be directed by the same guy who directed the Battle of the Bastards. There are a few leaked photos that are supporting a possibility of the living emerging victorious against the Army of the Dead, but it will be Cersei and Euron Greyjoy that will destroy Winterfell. Basically, in this possibility, Jon and Dany's forces would face the Army of the Dead at Winterfell and emerge victorious but with massive casualties. And no, it doesn't mean that the living defeated the Night King. They just defeated his current army while he's forming a new, stronger and larger army in the far south. We all thought that the Great Four will be fought in the north on a front defined by the advancing Army of the Dead, and partly we are correct. The north will face a 100,000 strong army of Whites led by the White Walkers, but the Night King will not be there. He will fly Viserion to the far south across all of Westeros and will raise the dead, thus the entire continent will be facing a horde of Whites overnight. Now you might be wondering how is this event confirmed, but give me a few moments to explain it to you. While prophecies in Game of Thrones don't literally come true, visions on the other hand do, and while Bran's vision of the exploding wildfire already came true in Season 6, there are two more visions from the future that are yet to come true. It's the shadow of a dragon flying over King's Landing, and the one in which Bran sees King's Landing in winter with an empty throne room that has its roof blown off. At first glance this would imply that Dany does end up reaching and taking over King's Landing eventually, but the crumbled building, the Red Keep and burnt houses with the wintry background are of the major importance. Dany would not destroy the Red Keep in which the Iron Throne is, nor would she burn down houses where innocent people live, as proven in numerous Season 7 scenes. The damage done to the Red Keep and to the houses, however, is consistent with something that Danish dragons would be able to do, the main suspect being her dead dragon Viserion. These Bran's visions, one of which Dany had as well, along with leaked photos in which we can see that big portion of King's Landing will at some point be burned down, pretty much confirm my statement that the Night King will fly Viserion to the far south and raise the dead across all of Westeros. While the leader of White Walkers is forming an army across all of Westeros, his current army that has in the Season 7 finale finally crossed into the north will in the Season 8 premiere hit and destroy castles of House Umber and House Karstark, just as Jon in the Season 7 premiere said they would if the wall falls. Basically, the Night King will create a huge army in the south while sacrificing his current army in the north. Anyways, after the battle is over, after the living has won against a 100,000 strong army of the dead, at that very moment Euron appears with the Ironborn, the Lannisters and with the Golden Company. He's been waiting for the battle between the living and the dead to end. He's there on Cersei's orders to kill what's left of the winning army. Euron attacking Winterfell once the battle between the living and the dead ends to kill what's left of the victorious party is coming as a huge surprise, but at the same time it's also kind of been confirmed by leaked photos. In these leaked photos that were taken on Winterfell's set, we can see the dead Ironborn that would be Euron's casualties in this battle at Winterfell. There's even a leaked photo of Jon being taken hostage to King's Landing, supporting this possibility even more as it seems Euron managed to imprison Jon. Additionally, this scene will take place in episode 4 as the director of that episode was seen on the set. That is just one episode after the huge battle for Winterfell, supporting this possibility of Euron taking Jon a hostage even more. After all, this turn of events might not be that big of a surprise, since Cersei herself said that she's going to use Euron Greyjoy, the Golden Company and her armies to attack the victorious army after the battle is over. However, one is certain, either the dead or the living themselves will destroy Winterfell, but Jaime as well as most of the main characters will not face their end just yet. Now we are coming to the long anticipated Cersei's downfall and death that will be caused by her becoming the Mad Queen. But unfortunately, Cersei will not be end for herself but for Jaime as well. Upon suffering the tremendous defeat at Winterfell and upon losing Jon Snow to Euron and Cersei, Dany and the crew will retreat south, to either the Riverlands or the Vale. However, they will then learn that the Night King has formed an even bigger army of the dead in the south. Bran Stark will inform them that the Night King is marching his new army on King's Landing. King's Landing is the largest city with a population of 1 million people, and therefore they cannot allow the Night King to take it, because it would mean the end for the living. All the main characters being at King's Landing at some point of the final season has been confirmed by the leaked photos as well. Even though the entire living side is coming to Cersei's aid, she's preparing a trap for them. Cersei intends to have all her enemies, both the living and the dead, to fight on the streets of King's Landing, while she would use wildfire to burn them all. Cersei's plan is to wait in the Red Keep for the army of the dead to breach the city walls, and for the great battle to take place inside the capital. Cersei would then burn all her enemies, the living and the dead, using wildfire. Will Cersei manage to pull it out and burn everyone down? Even though burned King's Landing set would seem to support this theory, the answer is no. The wildfire is not the reason King's Landing set is being burned down, it's Dragonfire. The show built the King's Landing set mainly to do live pyrotechnics, meaning that some parts of the capital will be burned down by a dragon, as Dragonfire in Game of Thrones is portrayed by live pyrotechnics. Basically, Cersei's plan to have the living and the dead fight inside King's Landing will come true, but her burning them all with wildfire will not. Who will stop her? Even though this part is not confirmed by leaked photos, I think it's safe to say that the one to stop Cersei from burning down the entire capital is Jaime Lannister. Jaime already did a huge sacrifice in order to save hundreds of thousands of innocent lives by killing the Mad King, and has ever since been called the Kingslayer to his irritation. However, Cersei will now intend to do the same. Throughout the show, we've learned that the scars Jaime carries from his decision to kill King Aerys Targaryen run deep, and Jaime is a man desperate to forge his own legacy, not to be remembered as the Kingslayer. Jaime will do noble sacrifice once again, but this time he will not sacrifice his honor, this time it requires his life. Jaime is going to kill his sister once she gives an order to Qyburn to, as the Mad King used to say, burn them all. Jaime will sacrifice himself by killing Cersei, as the Mountain will kill him immediately. Jaime will kill the ruler of the Seven Kingdoms once again, but this time people will not mock his name. This time everyone will know that Jaime Lannister is the savior of the city and the only reason they are alive. His name will be remembered as a hero, and this great deed will fulfill his empty pages in the famous Book of Brothers. His death will probably be avenged by the Hound with Brienne's help. How I see it happening is the Sandor Clegane and Brienne arriving at the throne room just at the time to see the Mountain striking down Jaime. The Hound then battles the Mountain in epic Clegane Ball, while Jaime dies in Brienne's arms. The last Lannister at this point, Tyrion, is also going to die. His death has been confirmed by the same source that leaked the entire Season 7. The source is Freaky Doctor, whose channel you can visit by clicking the link in the description down below. Last year, this guy shared the entire Season 7 plot, claiming it's legit leaks, and as most of you know, it turned out accurate. Tyrion will apparently be judged at the Dragon Pit and shortly after executed. In details, Freaky Doctor says that in the charge of our trial is Sir Davos Seaworth, accompanied with all the Starks, Sansa, Arya and Bran. There are also Samwell Tarly, Brienne of Tarth, Robin Arryn, and 2 new characters, one of them wearing a golden armor. Grave Worm with the Unsullied will also be there with a group of the Unsullied guarding Tyrion Lannister. Tyrion is being on trial for betraying Dany over his family. Freaky Doctor says that Bran Stark will use his greenside powers during this trial and take us back to the first season. Bran will recall something Tyrion said to his mother Catelyn Stark in the first season. It's Tyrion's statement that he would never bet against his family. There's another thing we know, Tyrion will say they deserve it, implying that the people of King's Landing deserve to die. Tyrion is full of anger. The most dramatic moment of the trial will be Tyrion falling on his knees in the middle of a speech, dragged down by his actions. He will also not be able to ask for a trial by combat. Freaky Doctor doesn't know how Tyrion will be executed because, unlike the trial, his death was not filmed in Seville but in the studio.